Bitcoin has now risen to this $2 trillion asset class. It is on the radar of almost every investor. Every average person knows about it, has heard about it. And now you're going to start to see it work into all different industries.
This is literally your last chance to buy Bitcoin under $100,000. Share this video with anybody you care about who has yet to really buy Bitcoin. Because according to Fidelity Digital Assets Director of Research, CFA Chris K., you might want to double down now.
We are entering a new era, a new chapter in this of mass adoption and diffusion.
Fidelity has $5 trillion plus in assets under management. They are one of the biggest financial giants on the planet. Fidelity believes Bitcoin's price doubles this year and hits $200,000 by the end of 2025. Fidelity also believes Bitcoin's price hits $1 million by 2030. So is this your last chance to buy Bitcoin under $100,000? Well, you all remember when Larry Fink was going on TV promoting Bitcoin, and I told you so often, hey, this is your last chance to buy Bitcoin under 40K.
It's no different than what gold represented over thousands of years. It is a asset class that protects you.
Right. Hey, this is your last chance to buy Bitcoin under 65K.
I believe you're going to see that as one of the asset classes that we all look at. I look at it as digital gold, as I said before, and I do believe there's a real need.
So, is this your last chance to buy Bitcoin under 100K? Listen, nobody can predict the future. If we could, we'd all be rich. But in retrospect, it was so obvious. I think something very similar can be said for where Bitcoin is today and the adoption that we're seeing. Crypto is so undervalued right now. Bitcoin is leading the charge, and the adoption of Bitcoin and crypto is so overwhelming compared to where the prices are. Here, Fidelity Digital Assets Director of Research explains why Fidelity is so bullish in 2025.
What is the driving factor for Bitcoin in 2025 if it's not in the regulatory fray, if we're not worried about how the government is going to view it? Is this really just about adoption this year?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Bitcoin is apolitical. It's the most neutral commodity or form of money, however you want to think of it, out there. And so I think that's exactly right. It's above all of this. It has lasted through many different regulatory cycles and regimes, and it will in the future. And I think that's what we need to focus on. And I would also agree with you that the main story is adoption. We're just finishing our 2025 look ahead piece. It's going to be out next week. And that is one of the key themes there, that we believe we are entering a new era, a new chapter in this of mass adoption and diffusion. So Bitcoin has now risen to this $2 trillion asset class. It is on the radar of almost every investor. Every average person knows about it, has heard about it. And now you're going to start to see it work into all different industries, not just finance industries, but different industries completely, energy industries, insurance industries. We've seen it accelerate as part of corporations' treasury strategies. And so as this diffuses and permeates through all the different areas of society, we think that's going to be the major factor. But of course, that's not just a 2025 story. That's likely a multi-year, maybe even multi-decade story. But we do think that 2025 could be the year where people look back on and say, this was the turning point, or this was the start of that new era.
Like, if you can't see that conversations around Bitcoin and crypto are changing, you need to start paying attention. The people who used to be Bitcoin's biggest enemies are now all getting involved in big ways, coming around, speaking on it differently now.
I don't think that's how people think about it. I mean, it's so, people use Bitcoin as a speculative asset, right? It's like gold. It's just like gold, only it's virtual. It's digital. People are not using it as a form of payment. Or as a store of value. It's highly volatile. It's not a competitor for the dollar. It's really a competitor for gold. That's really how I think of it.
And it's not just Bitcoin. This whole market's about to explode. Fidelity has such big expectations for Ethereum. It's so strange how you barely hear anybody talk about Ethereum anymore. But there's so much going on. Like, why couldn't Ethereum get to $10,000 this cycle? Especially when Fidelity has a market outlook for Ethereum like this.
What's your expectation for Ether in 2025?
At one point, Ether was actually flat year to date. And then, of course, it did surge post-election and has recovered a lot of those gains. So it's no slouch. It's outperformed any other traditional finance asset out there. But, of course, it has underperformed Bitcoin quite significantly. And it continues to underperform in the last 2 to 3 year trend, if you look at that. And one of the things that's been going on lately with Ethereum, and we have an analyst on our team who follows this very closely, is the focus on layer twos. So the community said to scale this, we're gonna have this roll-up centric roadmap where we focus on moving activities to layer twos. That's going to drive down fees. That's going to bring in more users and developers. Now, of course, the problem with that is that it took away a lot of the revenue on the base layer. And so people are looking at that, and I think that was part of the reason for the underperformance. But our analyst who covers this has been very firm in saying this was the plan all along, to sacrifice that short-term revenue for larger network effects down the road, to keep people on the Ethereum network, keep them building, keep the fees low. And so there's always this balance of what's good for users isn't the best, at least in the short term, for the holders of the token, because they've given up some of that near-term revenue for this scalability. Now, going into 2025, we'll see if this all works out, if they can pull this off. There's another upgrade expected in early part or Q2 of 2025. And so the Prague Electra upgrade is what it's called. We'll see if that also improves it. It was going to be one of the largest upgrades in history. They've scaled that back. It's just going to focus on cleaning up some of the code from the merge, and then also focus on these layer twos and giving some short-term solutions there. So that's really the big question and story for Ethereum in my mind, whether the market likes this trade-off of short-term gains for a longer-term plan, and then whether or not they can pull that off. And then the other part is the tokenization. So it's very, very small that we see other tokenization outside of stablecoins. We've seen some treasuries, a few other things, but we expect and wouldn't be surprised to see that small and nascent market grow quite a bit in 2025 as well, because again, it just makes sense to put a lot of these assets on chain to benefit from all the efficiencies that they get.
And then this is the one thing I hear nobody else talking about, the big change that is happening. The real reason why so many crypto coins are about to skyrocket is because the one factor that kept big money away for so long is no longer an issue. Listen to Chris surprisingly share that volatility, which used to be the number one factor that kept big money away, volatility is no longer a big issue. More and more people have actually evolved their take on crypto's volatility nowadays, and this is not something we're guessing on. Fidelity, based on their research, is sure of it. So much money is about to flow into the crypto space. I just bought more Ethereum. I just bought more Solana. I just bought a select few more quality altcoins. Like, this market is about to get so hot. Listen.
We've done an annual survey now of even institutional investors, not retail. And every year, the number one barrier has been cited volatility. The other ones have all changed. They've come and gone, but volatility stays up there as the number one most cited reasons as to why people either don't invest or their biggest concern. And to me, this is a bit of a pet peeve of mine. I think it's somewhat of an excuse or a distraction, especially for institutional investors who, quite frankly, should know better. It's their job and our job to handle volatility. Volatility is not a reason not to invest or just regard something. It's a reason to manage it, right? To take it on. And really, people are finally, I think, coming around to this idea that volatility is part of Bitcoin's DNA, or at least for the foreseeable future, because it's absolutely linked to its greatest value proposition. Bitcoin is valuable because it's volatile, and that's because it has that hard cap of 21 million coins. And so because the supply can't change, any change in demand is going to have to be reflected with a change in price. And so you can't take out the volatility of Bitcoin without taking out that core value proposition. And I think people are finally getting comfortable with that and saying, okay, it's volatile. If it's a little too volatile for me, I can manage it through the size of my position, or I can manage it through other ways, or I can now invest in it with different vehicles. And so I think, or at least I'm hopeful, this may be the year people finally disregard that one, and I'm sure they'll move on to something else. But the other thing too is you look at the research, and we've done a lot of this as well. Bitcoin is no more volatile than a lot of the Magnificent Seven stocks out there. So if people have these stocks in their portfolio, and almost everybody does, given the size of these companies, they're holding something that's just as volatile at times. So I think people need to look at the data as well, as they're operating on some of this old data when Bitcoin was multiple times more volatile than it is today at a $2 trillion asset class.
Wake up. Open your eyes. We try to share with you information like this on a daily basis. If you're interested in making money, subscribe to Altcoin Daily for daily videos keeping you informed on the market. Some of you have been with us for a while. I know a lot of you who've been with us for a while are actually doing quite well in crypto. I believe 2025 will be our best year yet, but you need to stick with it. Double down. This is the year where the biggest gains will be made, in my opinion. Of course, anything can happen, not financial advice. My name is Aaron, Altcoin Daily. See you tomorrow, my friends.